Welcome to World Pulse Updates. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. On January 17, 2026, the U.S. Supreme Court delivered a decision that has shaken the foundations of global trade. This ruling directly challenges President Trump's aggressive tariff policies, which have reshaped international commerce. The Supreme Court's intervention raises a crucial question: how much power should one person have over trillions in cross-border trade? We'll break down why these tariffs were imposed, what the court decided, and how it's already affecting markets, politics, and your wallet. From Wall Street to factory floors in Asia, the world is reacting, and the future of global trade is more uncertain than ever. Experts are debating what comes next. Will businesses change course? Will other countries see opportunity or threat? This is more than a headline. It's a turning point for the global economy and American leadership. To understand today's news, let's rewind, not just a few years but decades, to the roots of global trade policy and the forces that shaped it. Trade rules have always been about more than just economics. They reflect shifting alliances, national priorities, and the constant tug-of-war between open markets and protectionism. The seeds of today's conflicts were planted long ago, as countries negotiated deals to protect their own interests. Fast forward to President Trump's return to office. He introduced a bold, reciprocal tariff framework, a sweeping 10% tax on most imports. The goal? To revive American manufacturing, create jobs, and send a clear message that the U.S. would no longer tolerate what it saw as unfair trade. Countries accused of unfair practices faced tariffs as high as 50%. India, for example, was targeted for its trade barriers and continued purchases of Russian oil, despite U.S. objections. The message was unmistakable: play by America's rules, or pay the price. To make this happen, Trump invoked the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEEPA. This allowed him to bypass Congress entirely, declaring that unfair trade itself was a national emergency, an unprecedented move in U.S. history. IEEPA was originally designed for true national security threats, like terrorism or hostile foreign powers, not for reshaping the entire global economy. Using it for economic policy was controversial, raising alarms among lawmakers and legal scholars alike. The results were immediate and dramatic. In 2025 alone, the U.S. government collected over $264 billion in tariffs. This sparked fierce disputes with trading partners, especially China, and sent shockwaves through global supply chains. The administration didn't stop there. New tariffs hit European nations after they opposed a U.S. proposal to purchase Greenland, further straining diplomatic ties and fueling debates about the limits of presidential power. These tariffs became the centerpiece of Trump's America First agenda, fundamentally altering the rules of global trade. Each new tax was a signal that the old order was being rewritten, one decision at a time. But this aggressive strategy also set the stage for a historic legal showdown, as critics challenged the president's sweeping authority. The world watched closely as the United States redefined its role in international commerce, with allies and rivals alike recalibrating their strategies. The central question emerged: could a single president truly wield such immense power over the fate of global trade? And what would the consequences be for the world economy? The answer, and the future of U.S. trade policy, would soon be decided by the nation's highest court. The stakes couldn't be higher. For businesses, governments, and ordinary consumers around the globe, all waiting to see how this unprecedented battle would unfold. The battle lines were drawn, and the world braced for the outcome. As Trump's tariffs hit businesses across the country, the impact was immediate and widespread. Storefronts in small towns and major cities alike displayed signs of financial strain, while factory floors fell silent and workers faced layoffs. Shipping containers stacked up at ports, unable to move. As the cost of imported goods soared and uncertainty rippled through the economy, companies pushed back, arguing the president had overstepped his authority. Executives voiced their concerns in boardrooms and on the steps of government buildings, warning that the tariffs threatened not just profits, but jobs and the stability of entire industries. Major firms like Costco and Learning Resources, Inc. took the fight to court, filing lawsuits that challenged the president's use of emergency powers. They claimed the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEEPA, was never intended to be a tool for sweeping trade policy changes, but rather for true national security threats. The key question emerged: Can the president declare an economic emergency and single-handedly rewrite the nation's trade rules, or does that fundamental power rest with Congress, as the Constitution suggests? The answer would shape the balance of power for years to come. The Supreme Court agreed to hear Learning Resources, Inc. versus Trump, plunging businesses into a period of massive uncertainty. Legal experts debated the scope of presidential authority, while companies anxiously awaited a ruling that could upend their operations. Companies delayed orders and shipments, unsure if the tariffs would be struck down or upheld. Some businesses stockpiled goods, while others held back, fearing sudden changes in the rules. The timing was critical. U.S. firms needed to place orders with Chinese suppliers before the Lunar New Year, when factories would shut down for weeks. Every day of uncertainty risked millions in lost revenue and disrupted supply chains. Prediction markets gave Trump only a 33% chance of prevailing in court, signaling that most experts and investors expected the Supreme Court to impose limits on presidential power. The business world braced for a landmark decision. The world watched as the Supreme Court prepared to rule, not just on tariffs, but on the very boundaries of executive authority. International media, legal scholars, and everyday Americans waited for a verdict that could redefine the presidency. Billions of dollars and the future of U.S. trade policy hung in the balance. Wall Street, Main Street, and trading partners around the globe watched for the outcome. The stage was set for a historic decision, one that would echo through the halls of government, the markets, and the lives of millions of Americans. The wait is over. In a 6-3 decision, the Supreme Court struck down Trump's use of IEEPA to impose sweeping tariffs. Chief Justice Roberts wrote that while the president has foreign policy power, IEEPA wasn't meant for a total trade overhaul. The court ruled that only Congress can make such broad economic decisions. The decision invalidates the legal basis for the 10% baseline tariff and higher tariffs on countries like India and China. Billions collected under IEEPA were deemed illegal, opening the door for companies to seek refunds. The Court of International Trade will now handle these claims, a process involving billions. The ruling only addressed IEEPA, not other trade laws, so the administration may try new legal avenues. This is a major victory for tariff opponents, but the legal and political fight is far from over. The future of American trade policy is now up for grabs. The Supreme Court's decision sent shockwaves worldwide. Countries hit by tariffs expressed relief and hope for more predictable trade. The EU called it a step toward restoring global cooperation. Stock markets surged, especially in sectors hurt by the trade war. The Dow jumped 500 points. Currencies of major U.S. trading partners strengthened, signaling investor optimism. The Trump administration responded defiantly, vowing to reimpose tariffs using other legal tools. This stance worries global partners who fear the trade war isn't over. Meanwhile, countries like Canada and Taiwan are forging new trade deals, showing the world isn't waiting for U.S. leadership. The global economic landscape is now more complex and fragmented than ever. The U.S. risks being sidelined as countries adapt to new realities. The world is moving on, with or without America. The Supreme Court's decision will hit home for American consumers and businesses, affecting everyday expenses and the broader economy. With tariffs struck down, the cost of importing goods, electronics, clothing, furniture, should drop, leading to lower prices at stores. This means that the average consumer might find their dollar stretching a bit further when shopping for essentials or luxury items. Small and medium businesses, long burdened by tariffs, can now import more cheaply and restock inventories. This could lead to more competitive pricing and potentially more job opportunities as businesses expand. Experts predict a surge in imports as companies rush to take advantage of lower costs. This influx of goods could stimulate economic activity and provide a wider variety of products for consumers. However, the end of tariffs could widen the U.S. trade deficit and expose American industries to tougher foreign competition. This might lead to some domestic companies struggling to keep up. Some U.S. jobs may be at risk as protection fades. Industries that have relied on tariffs to stay competitive might face layoffs or closures. Uncertainty remains. The president has promised to bring tariffs back in another form, making long-term planning difficult. Businesses are left in a state of limbo, unsure of how to strategize for the future. Businesses may rush to import now, fearing new tariffs could return soon. This urgency could lead to short-term gains, but also potential logistical challenges. Short-term relief is likely, but the long-term stability of global trade is still in question. the international market remains volatile, and future policies could shift the landscape once again. Consumers may see lower prices, but the economic landscape remains unsettled. It's a mixed bag of benefits and potential risks. The whack-a-mole of tariffs is far from over. Each new policy brings a wave of changes that can be hard to predict. For now, your wallet may benefit, but the story isn't finished. Keep an eye on how these changes unfold. Stay alert for what comes next. The economic landscape is ever-changing, and staying informed is key. The Supreme Court's decision has ignited a political firestorm in Washington. Democrats celebrate a win for the rule of law and vow to limit presidential tariff powers further. President Trump, facing a major setback, is scrambling for new legal strategies to keep his trade agenda alive. The ruling deepens divisions within the Republican Party between free trade advocates and protectionists. This internal conflict will shape the party's future trade strategy. The decision is set to be a central issue in the upcoming midterms, touching on the economy, prices, and America's global role. Democrats will campaign on restoring stability. Trump and allies will frame it as a fight for American jobs. The fallout from this ruling will define U.S. politics for years to come. After the Supreme Court's decision, experts agree the trade war isn't over. The administration is expected to seek new legal ways to reimpose tariffs. Some predict a rush of imports as companies try to beat any new restrictions. Others say the impact will be smaller, as global supply chains take time to adjust. The real change in trade flows may not be felt for over a month. The only certainty is uncertainty. Businesses and governments are left navigating a shifting landscape. The administration's next move is the key variable everyone is watching. Will this mark a shift in U.S. trade policy, or just the start of a new legal battle? For now, the world waits and watches. The story of American trade is being rewritten in real time. Today's Supreme Court decision has fundamentally altered global trade and American politics. The court reaffirmed that Congress, not the president alone, controls trade policy. Markets have responded, businesses are adjusting, and political battle lines are drawn. The long-term consequences remain unknown, and the administration is already seeking new legal paths. Staying informed is your best tool. Watch how prices, policies, and global relationships evolve. Follow reliable news and analysis to understand the forces shaping your world. This story is far from over. The next chapter is being written now.